Hello, I'm Jan Ingerson, a native of Springville, New York. I am delighted to welcome you to Pathways to History. Pathways to History is a series of fascinating and often little-known stories of the town of Concord and its village of Springville and her people. These stories are sponsored by the Concord Historical Society. We are approximately 30 miles south of Buffalo and the scenic hillside of Western New York. Later in the video, I will tell you more about who we are and what you'll see when you come to visit us. But for now, I hope you enjoy this segment of Pathways to History that today leads us to
Cascade Park. At the turn of the 20th century, postcards became the popular way to send greetings and short notes to friends. In fact, postcards enjoyed such popularity that local communities photographed their landmarks solely for the use on postcards. Springville was no exception. This story of a forgotten summer getaway, its popularity, and the people who spent summer weekends there is told through vintage postcards and newspaper articles from that era. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, railways played a major role in Erie County. Buffalo was then the 8th largest city in the United States. To encourage the people of Buffalo and the surrounding Niagara frontier to travel by rail, the Buffalo, Rochester, and Pittsburgh Railroad organized excursions to Niagara Falls, Rochester, and southward into Pennsylvania to places like Bradford, Mount Jewett with its famed Kinzua Bridge, and even to Pittsburgh. Approximately 30 miles south of Buffalo is the spectacular Zoar Valley, formed by the Cattaraugus Creek. To accommodate increased railroad traffic and heavier engines, a new railroad bridge was built across the gorge in 1898. This deep gorge, with its grand scenery, soon caught the eyes of the railroad managers as a rural destination for the people of Buffalo. The following year, 1899, the BR&P Railroad purchased 150 acres along the banks of the winding Cattaraugus Creek with its deep gorge. There, several waterfalls cascaded down 185 feet into the creek below. These waterfalls inspired the name Cascade Park. To give people a delightful pleasure resort, as one local newspaper described it, the railroad cleared, graded, and seeded large areas and built an 80-foot pavilion to provide a place for picnics and entertainment. The $10,000 project included pathways for people to enjoy. Of course, there was the ever-popular Lover's Lane for the young and young at heart to find privacy away from the crowds. Eventually, stairways were built leading down into the gorge itself, where people enjoyed the scenic beauty with its cascading waterfalls. The Springville Journal reported in 1899, "Every person who has been there and enjoyed the beauties which nature has provided will realize that the spot will be charming indeed." With ticket in hand, many boarded the train for an afternoon in Concord. Cascade Park quickly became a popular summer destination in the early 1900s. So much so that within a few years the railroad added cars to the scheduled trains that already had 10 passenger cars and more that daily headed south to Concord and the village of Springville. As the trains pulled into the park, the tourists were greeted with 6-foot letters announcing their arrival at Cascade Park. Here, people spent the day relaxing, walking the wooded paths, and viewing the gorge, often referred to as the canyon. Later, a dance hall was built around with a merry-go-round, swings, and teeter-totters for the children. This was a family-friendly spot. The Springville Town Band often played, adding to the enjoyment of the park's beauty. Baseball, Ninepins, croquet, races, and probably bingo were set up around the park. Eventually, tennis courts were installed. Cascade Park became a popular location for reunions, employee outings, church picnics, and gatherings for such organizations such as the Grange. Civil War veterans of the 44th and 116th Volunteers often held their reunions there. These newspaper articles show the popularity of Springville's Cascade Park. Of course, it was also a favorite venue for local communities as well. A major event occurred in 1930 when the area celebrated the centennial of its school, known as Griffith Institute. A record 750 people filled the pavilion for that gala festival. However, you still had to purchase a train ticket and present it at the gate to get in, usually at a cost of 15 cents for adults and 10 cents for children. The 780-foot railroad bridge crossing the gorge was an immediate focal point of the park. It was especially spectacular from the bottom of the gorge, where people could look up to view the modern-day steel marvel. In addition, young men tried to impress their sweethearts by walking across the bridge, suspended 200 feet above the water, something the railroad authorities did not encourage. A current Springville resident recalls his mother's story of attending a Sunday school picnic. The group she was with decided to walk to the center of the bridge. They were only part way across when they heard a train whistle in the distance. She described to her son their frantic race to get off the bridge in time. Other adventurous souls explored the several caves along the banks of the gorge. These caves were eventually sealed off after several visitors got lost while inside, delaying the train's departure for Buffalo. But by the 1920s, automobiles had captured the hearts of America. Train travel began to lose its appeal. However, the park did not lose its allure. In 1921, the founders of the Springville Country Club purchased the property for their golf course. Over time, as the golf course was expanded, the park's buildings were taken down, leaving only memories of the crowds that once came. Today, as one of the more desirable golf courses of Western New York, it still attracts people 100 years later.
We hope you enjoyed this pathway to the history of our town, sponsored by the Concord Historical Society. Concord is located in southern Erie County of Western New York. The Concord Historical Society's campus has 3 buildings that are open to the public. The mid-19th century house, known as the Warner Museum, has displays of our local, area, and prominent people of the past. We are proud of nationally known Dr. Ralph Waite, who made advances in painless dentistry, and Glenn Pop Warner, pioneer in the development of college football. A second building is a turn of the 19th century mercantile and gift shop. It also houses the Heritage Building, which includes 7 displays and replicas of the history of the village of Springville and the town of Concord. The major exhibit features a 1908 New York to Paris automobile race won by Springville resident George Schuster. The carriage house, containing additional exhibits of interest, completes our campus. The Bensley Center, located at 23 North Buffalo Street, is the Society's headquarters and offers research opportunities from the Lucy Bensley Library. The Research Library is open Wednesdays from 9 to 2. You may call for an appointment for other days and times. You are welcome to visit us any Saturday from 11 to 2 at the Franklin Street campus. See you next time on Pathways to History.